Her name was Mila. She wore her name on a little gold pin above her apron, right under the logo of the diner, Sonny's Grill. It was the kind of place where the coffee was always hot, and regulars sat in the same booth every morning. Mila was one of the newer faces, but even so, she never forgot anyone's order. She spoke softly, and always with a smile. Her accent was thick, but gentle, like her words were trying to be kind, even if they came out differently than most people were used to. She often said "thank you" instead of "thank you," and sometimes paused mid-sentence to search for the right English word. Most people didn't mind. In fact, many appreciated her warmth and quiet way of paying attention. But there were others, people who thought different meant less. They would smirk when she spoke, laugh behind her back, or whisper things just loud enough to be heard. Mila never said a word in return. She just kept pouring coffee, refilling glasses, and wiping tables like nothing happened. She never showed anger. She never snapped back. That's what made people curious. There was something about her. She moved with grace, even when rushed. She stood tall, even when people tried to make her feel small. And when she smiled, it wasn't fake. It was real, deep, and warm, like a quiet sunrise after a long night. Mila had been working at Sonny's Grill for 8 months. She showed up every day 15 minutes early, never complained, and often picked up the shifts no one else wanted. She even worked double shifts without being asked. Still, no one really knew her. She didn't talk much about herself. When asked where she was from, she would just say, "Far away." Long story. And then she'd quickly change the subject, maybe offer more coffee, or ask how your day was going. But the truth was, Mila carried a story inside her. One that most people wouldn't believe. One that had pain, strength, and more courage than anyone could see from just looking at her apron and smile. And that story was about to come out, all because of one rude customer and one unexpected listener. But it all started on a Tuesday morning, just like any other, when Mila walked into the diner, tied on her apron, and faced the kind of moment that would change everything. It was just past 9 a.m. when the door to Sonny's Grill swung open, and a man in a business suit walked in. He looked rushed. He didn't smile at Mila when she greeted him. Instead, he pointed at a table near the window without saying a word. Mila, as always, just nodded kindly and showed him to his seat. "Coffee?" she asked gently. "Sure, but make it fast," he snapped. Mila brought the coffee and placed it in front of him. "Would you like cream or sugar?" "What?" The man frowned. "Speak clearly, lady. What did you just say?" She repeated her words, slightly slower this time, but her accent was still there. The man rolled his eyes. "Unbelievable," he muttered. "Why do they even let people like you serve tables if you can't speak proper English?" Mila's hands froze for just a second. She had heard comments like this before, but each time, it still stung. She gave a small nod and walked away. A couple of college students at the next table giggled. One whispered, "Did you hear that? He said what everyone's thinking." Mila pretended not to hear. The man wasn't done. When she returned with his food, he raised his voice on purpose. "You know, back where I'm from, waitresses actually know how to talk to customers, not mumble like they just landed from who knows where." A few heads turned. The room grew tense. Mila simply placed the plate down and whispered, "Enjoy your meal," before walking back toward the kitchen. But what she didn't know was that someone had been watching. The manager, Tom, had just come in for his morning shift. He saw the way Mila's shoulders dropped. He saw the customer's smug grin, and for the first time in months, Tom wondered who Mila really was, beyond the apron, beyond the accent. That afternoon, Tom decided to ask Mila to stay a little after her shift. What he would hear from her would forever change the way he looked at her, and maybe the world. That moment happened during late fall. The leaves outside had started turning orange and gold. The air was cooler. Customers came in, wearing jackets and scarves. And with the changing season, came something else. A slow shift in Mila's life that had been building up for months. Mila was in her early 50s. While others her age were slowing down, Mila was starting over. She had been working hard, ever since arriving in the country a little over a year ago. Every day felt like climbing a hill with weights tied to her feet. But she kept going. That afternoon, after the lunch rush, Tom called her into the office. He wasn't angry, just curious. "Mila," he said, sitting across from her, You're one of the kindest people I've met. But today, I saw how that man spoke to you, and I've seen others treat you unfairly too. You never say anything. I just want to ask, why? Why do you let it go? Mila looked down at her hands. They were rough from work, but steady. She took a breath. Because, words can hurt, yes, but they don't break me, not anymore. Tom leaned forward. Can I ask, where are you from? Mila hesitated. Then, for the first time, she didn't change the subject. I'm from a small city, or, I used to be, she said quietly. There was a war, a long one. My home was destroyed. My school too. School? Tom asked. Mila nodded. I was a principal. For almost 20 years, I loved my students. I believed in education. I believed it could save lives. Tom sat back, stunned. I lost my family, she added softly. My husband, my son. I left everything behind, just to stay alive. If this part of the story touched your heart, please like the video, comment your thoughts below, and subscribe for more real and emotional stories like this. Tom couldn't believe it. The woman pouring coffee and wiping tables had once run a school. He asked her to tell him more, and Mila took him back to where her story began. Mila's voice grew softer as she spoke, but her eyes lit up with memory. My school was small, just one building. We didn't have much old books, broken chairs, but we had children who wanted to learn. They came every day, even when it rained through the roof. I knew every student by name. She paused. I used to stand by the front gate each morning, greeting them as they arrived. I would say, "Today is a good day to grow." That was our motto. Tom listened closely. He had never seen her speak this much. But then, war came. We had warnings, then explosions. One day, our classroom window shattered from the blast. I covered 2 students with my own body. Her hands trembled slightly. I tried to keep the school open for as long as I could, but when the soldiers came, I had to choose: stay and risk death, or run. Tom felt a lump in his throat. I came here with nothing but a suitcase and a photo of my son. I couldn't speak English well. I took cleaning jobs. Then I found the diner. And yet you smile every day, Tom said quietly. Yes, Mila nodded. Because even in pain, kindness is free. Tom realized he had misjudged Mila, but what amazed him more was her strength. He asked her why she kept going, with all she'd been through. Mila looked out the small office window and smiled gently. I serve food and coffee now, she said. But to me, it's not just a job. It's a chance to give something small to people. A smile, a warm plate, a moment of peace. She continued. Some people think starting over means you have failed, but I think starting over is what brave people do. Tom didn't know what to say. I do this work because I still believe in people, even when they are rude, even when they laugh. I know they don't see the full story, but I do. I know who I am, and who's that? Tom asked gently. Mila looked him in the eye. I'm a teacher, always, even if the classroom is different now. Tom nodded slowly. He thought about the way other staff sometimes rolled their eyes at Mila when she mixed up words, how customers thought she was just some foreign lady, and how she never once raised her voice or asked for praise. She just worked and lived and gave. Tom couldn't ignore it anymore. He knew he had to do something, not just for Mila, but for everyone who had ever been misunderstood. The next day, Tom made a decision. He gathered the diner staff before opening and told them Mila's story. Not all of it, just enough to help them see. She's not just a waitress, he said. She's someone who's lived through more than any of us can imagine, and she shows up here every day with more kindness than most people will ever give in a lifetime. The room was silent. From that day forward, things changed. The servers began helping Mila more. They listened when she spoke. They even started learning how to say good morning in her language. Customers noticed too. When that rude man returned, a week later, Tom personally served him and let him know his behavior wouldn't be welcome again. As for Mila, she didn't want attention. She just kept doing her job. But one morning, something surprised her. By the coffee station, a small box sat with a note. To Miss Mila, our teacher in kindness. Inside were handwritten thank you notes from the staff. One said, "You remind me of my grandma, strong and full of love." Mila stood still for a long time. Then she quietly wiped a tear from her cheek. And just when things seemed settled, Tom decided to go one step further, something that would finally give Mila the respect she had always deserved. 1 month later, Tom called Mila into the diner on her day off. When she arrived, she found the front window covered with a new decal, the Mila room, dedicated to those who teach without a classroom. Inside, the back section of the diner had been turned into a quiet reading nook, decorated with bookshelves, plants, and a photo of Mila standing at her old school's gate, one she had given to Tom, in private. "I know you can't be a school principal again," he said, "but you can still teach. Right here, your story is already doing that." Mila was speechless. Tom added, "And one more thing." He handed her a small silver badge. It read, "Mila Team Trainer." "You're not just a waitress," he said. "You're the example we want everyone to follow." Mila held the badge in her hand. For the first time in a long time, she felt seen, not for her accent, but for her heart. And so, through pain and quiet strength, Mila taught the diner something no textbook ever could. In the weeks that followed, people came to the diner, not just for the food, but for Mila's story. Tom even added a little note to the menus. "Ask about the Mila room." It started with kindness. Mila didn't become famous, she didn't go viral, but she became something even more special, respected. People who once overlooked her now asked for her by name. Young servers asked her for advice, and regulars sat in the Mila room, sipping coffee and thinking about second chances. The truth is, we never really know what someone has been through. The person we mock might be a hero in disguise. The one with the quiet voice may have once led hundreds, and the one with the accent might just be the bravest person in the room. Mila reminded everyone that kindness doesn't require perfect words. It just needs an open heart. Never judge someone by the job they do, or the way they speak. You never know the wars they've survived, just to stand before you. If Mila's story touched your heart, please like this video, comment below what you learned, and subscribe for more powerful true-to-life stories that remind us all to lead with empathy.